So yesterday we were talking about some things that Sri Nisargadatta said about not engaging in the workings of the mind. And one of the statements that he made was that overcome your addictions. That's all that you have to do. And I began contemplating what he must mean by that when it comes to thinking and whatnot. And oddly enough, this morning we were giving a class and somebody mentioned The Power of Now, that book by Eckhart Tolle. And so I went and kind of looked through it to see if I could find anything. There was a little scratch in my mind about it. And sure enough, I found this very interesting little paragraph toward the beginning of the book. He says, "Your mind is an instrument, a tool. It is there to be used for a specific task, and when the task is completed, you lay it down." A very interesting idea, that you don't always have to be engaged in mind, that you don't have to constantly keep that record running, but only when you need it, which is interesting. As it is, I would say about 80 to 90% of most people's thinking is not only repetitive and useless, but because of its dysfunctional and often negative nature, much of it is also harmful. He recommends, he says, observe your mind, and you will find this to be true. It causes a serious leakage of vital energy. This kind of compulsive thinking is actually an addiction. What characterizes an addiction? You no longer feel that you have the choice to stop. Number 2, it seems stronger than you. Number 3, it gives you a false sense of pleasure, pleasure that inevitably or invariably turns into pain. Now, I thought that was very interesting, this idea that it seems stronger than you, that your own mind would seem stronger than you, when actually you have the option at any time of disengaging or of changing it or of thinking of something different. It really is just an organ in the body. So how does it get so powerful? It gets so powerful, as we've mentioned in the past, that because you identify with it. You don't see it as the mind reflecting to you or conversing with you. You think, I am thinking. It is you, and you have all the power in that conversation. But not realizing that you're the one watching the mind and that the mind is subject to you, you share your power, you split your power with the mind, and you'll argue with the mind, which is a completely dysfunctional state, as Eckhart Tolle is talking about there. That's not the case. That we depend on imaginary things to give this mind that much power. We've talked in the past about how there is only this moment. You've never experienced a past, you never experienced a future, you can only experience the present. And any recalling or projecting that you do about the past or the future is happening in this present moment. And so understanding that will take a lot of that power back from the mind, because you see, one of our arguments that makes the mind so powerful is to say, well, I've done this so many times, how can I stop now? Or I've tried to win this battle so many times, how am I possibly going to win it now? So we use this record of a past to influence our attitude and our sense of power in the moment and to weaken ourselves. That's part of the negativity that he's talking about, some of the useless types of thinking. You have absolute power in this moment. Don't let these things seem so powerful because they use an imaginary record to influence the present moment. And it's equally the same with the future. When you think, oh God, you mean I'm never going to be able to have another piece of cake, if you're going on a diet? Well, no, that's not the case. You see, everything is about being in the moment. You just don't have a piece of cake right now. And if you hold that true, then all of your tomorrows will not have cake in them. But you don't have to not ever have cake again in the rest of your life. That makes it seem big. That makes it seem undoable. That gives you a reason to surrender, to not be able to win. That's a sure sign of addiction. That's something that a minister said to me many years ago. He says, you're not free to say yes to something until you're free to say no. And that's something really to think about. It has to be your choice in the moment. You have to be free to choose yes or no in the moment. You should not be overly affected by surrounding analysis. To subject the mind to the present and create the present that is comfortable for you. Create the present that will make the present of tomorrow enjoyable, as it were, to kind of violate even one of my own rules there. But that's the idea of selecting the good over the pleasant. If you do that, then your nows will more likely than not be pleasant.